everyone, and welcome back to another episode of What's the Alternative, where every week we take a scripture from the Bible, we briefly open it up, and we pose the question, what is the alternative? So for those of you who were with us last week, you'll know that we started a new sermon series called Whose Will Be Done, where we're focusing on the place, purpose, and the power of prayer. And so each week we take a prayer from the Bible and we open it up, we explore it, and we see what we can learn about prayer, about the different types of prayer, and ultimately improve and strengthen our prayer life with God. And so this week we're looking at the prayer of Jonah, and that prayer can be found in Jonah chapter 2 verse 1 to 10. And we don't have time to go through the whole prayer, but the thing I want to focus on is Jonah's emotional state while he is praying. From the moment this prayer opens up, he says, "In my distress, I call to the Lord." Jonah prayed this prayer when he was in absolute distress. He was in desperation. As we read this prayer, the words that Jonah uses, the words that he prays, kind of gives this image of Jonah feeling like he has been buried alive. Like, this is, life can't get any lower than this. God, I need your help. And yes, Jonah was in a fish, and so he didn't have anyone else to talk to. But in reading this prayer, we begin to understand that when we're in moments of distress, when we're going through situations where it does feel like we're being buried alive, the first person that we should go to, the first person we should cry out to, actually, in fact, the only person who can change the situation around is God. Now, I certainly know in my own life, when I've been going through very tough situations and I've been in distress, I've actually made God the last person that I go to. But Jonah's prayer shows us that we should first call out to God. Another thing is that Jonah is in the belly of a fish. It shows that there's no situation or no place that we can be in or find ourselves in where we cannot still cry out to God, call out to God in our desperation. Sometimes we think that we can't go to God in desperation, or we can't go to God in distress. We have to kind of have everything all together, but that's incorrect. God's given us emotions, and sometimes we are really just feeling like we're at the lowest we could be. But God still says, call out to me in your distress, because he will hear you. Even Jonah acknowledges that you listened to my cry. Even in this prayer, as Jonah is praying and he's in distress, he's still able to identify the hand of God in his life. He says in verse 6 in the lower half, "But you brought my life up from the pit, O Lord, my God." And in understanding this prayer, Jonah was in the belly of a fish because he disobeyed God. And so he was hurled into the sea, and ultimately he should have died. He should have drowned in the sea because there was a storm going on. But a fish came and swallowed him, and God sent this fish. God sent this fish to save Jonah. And it was also discipline, because Jonah was trying to run away from God. So even if he was in this situation because of himself, and even if it was a distressing situation, he was still able to see the hand of God in his life and give thanks to God. And in our moments, again, when we're crying out to God in distress, when we're in these situations, look for the hand of God in our lives and thank God for it also in that moment of distress. And as we continue to read this prayer, we get down to the bottom, and Jonah acknowledges that salvation comes from the Lord. That God is the only one who can save. God is the only one who can change the situation around. It's a hopeful way to end the prayer, that salvation comes from the Lord. He had faith in this, that salvation comes from the Lord. And so in our prayers of distress, when we cry out to God, when we feel like we've been buried alive, in the same time we're praying, we need to give thanksgiving to God. Acknowledge his hand that's still in your life. and have hope and have faith in God, because salvation comes from the Lord. And the most amazing thing about this prayer is that at the end, God answers Jonah's prayer. And it says this: the Lord commanded the fish, and it vomited Jonah onto dry land. There is no prayer that you could pray that's too emotional, that's too deep, that's too sad, that's too anything for God. God will have mercy on you. God will save you. God will change the situation around. But we must have faith. After all, what is the alternative?